I think you can look at someone and when you're young, there's the attraction. But then with you and with the other person, there has to be commitment.
If you love one another, you have a home.
I think love is what the world is about.
When I get down, he lifts me up.
If I needed him, he always stay with me. Sometimes I will become sick, something happen, he's with me. Okay, don't worry, I am with you.
The communication between us is, we talk about everything. You know, there's nothing held back, or if something's bothering us, we tell each other.
She's just easy to get along with, and I love her for that.
Of course, you fight once in a while, but you always make up.
I knew she had full faith in me. One word I would say, tolerance. In our marriage, that's what works. I tolerate whatever her shortcomings, she tolerates my shortcomings.
We all have the same feelings, and I think that's important.
You can't box it and label it.
I love you.
I love you. When we got married, she was 19 and I was 23. We were in India at the time, and it was an arranged marriage. So it was like first marriage and then love, instead of the other way around.
Kiss me.
There was a common friend of her father's and my father's, and they talked, and her father said that she has a marriageable girl, and my father also said that I am ready to take the plunge.
Yes.
So they arranged and we met
each other
for about half an hour or an hour. And we just said, you like me, I like you, okay,
Yes.
we got married. It was that fast.
That's fast.
I tell you, at that age, it was basically the physical attraction that was primary.
I'm 19 years old.
So both of us were really not thinking about anything else. I don't want to tell the tales of our bedroom. She was at her father's place in another city, but occasionally we met, occasionally only.
His parents, everything is okay.
There wasn't some skeletons in the closet. That's what her father wanted to know.
No, yeah.
And especially more emphasis was whether financially I was capable to support her.
And character too.
And the character, like,
what time?
all the relatives are invited, the close relatives. That's it. And they announced that they are going to get married. Then we got married after 1 year.
1 year.
Thank you guys. Thank you very much. Thank you.
When I met him with a friend, he was 21 and he was a World War II veteran. And he asked me out. And I went out with him and I fell in love with him that first night, his green eyes and his wonderful personality.
We kind of intermingled a lot and did a lot of different things, dances and that. And that's how we met.
We were both 15 years old. We were students at Bay Village High School in Bay Village, Ohio.
We met when we were 10 years old at the playground.
We used to live in a park.
Royal Park,
Yeah.
Naples, Italy.
And I was a refugee.
We met while I was a student nurse, and you were already out, weren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, you were already, he was an LPN.
And then I met him. I met him on a dancing floor.
We were making beds together.
Yeah.
Didn't really like him at first. But kind of grew on me.
He was such a good dancer. And I wasn't infusing the other people because I didn't want to dance with them. I want to dance with him.
We would meet up after work every day down in the cafeteria. There was a bunch of us. There was a bunch of us that met every day after work down in the cafeteria, and
they were perverted.
They were all perverted. We weren't.
I used to waiting for him outside his house because I like him so much. Yeah.
We probably talked about everything, all sorts of things. Well, you were trying to decide whether or not to join the Air Force because it was the time of the draft. It was Vietnam, and a lot of guys were getting drafted.
When I was in nurses training, we got engaged. It was obvious that we were going to be together forever.
She graduated in June, and we got married in September.
The dog approved, without a doubt. My dad thought he was wonderful. My mother was always hypocritical about everything, so it really didn't make much of a difference.
We love to make love of each other. We make love, a lot of love, me and my wife. But we used to live in a big park, in Royal Park, very big, you know. So in the evening, at 5 o'clock, people supposed to go out to the park.
And our whole relationship before we got married was totally G-rated. You know, it was...
So in night we were alone, me and him. Can you imagine me alone in a big park at night time? What we could do? You know what we could do?
He decided to go into the Air Force because his number was coming up in the draft, so he didn't want to go to the Army. He wanted to go to the Air Force and learn something else.
I came in this country then. There was in Italy. And then I came in this country and I left him.
Where were you? In Amarillo, Texas.
Yeah.
I went to visit him.
We write letters to each other, yeah. Love letters.
He brought it up, the subject of marriage up, and I said, well, sounds like a good idea to me. And so, yeah.
And he had to wait 2 years before he came here too.
And I got it for Christmas Eve. You gave it to me at Christmas Eve because you were home for Christmas, so that was nice.
And then
we ended up getting married.
And we ended up getting married.
Who's that one?
This is Jean when she was...
Who is this with us?
That's you.
That's not me.
I think she doesn't remember anything anymore.
I remember a lot more than you do. You're the one with the memory problem.
Yes, that's true.
Mine, I can remember everything from a long time ago, but what I did yesterday, forget that. I can't remember that, so it's just that I have short-term memory loss, and he's got everything memory loss. I can't think of any one thing that makes it easier on us, but...
Well, we tried friends.
Oh, yeah.
Like
the conversation is one of the most important things that we have between the two of us. Being able to discuss anything and everything. There are no secrets as far as I know. Except for he calls all these lovely girls that work here a different name every time he sees them, you know, because he can't remember what their names are.
You know,
who's Hortense? Which one is Hortense? I don't remember meeting an Hortense.
It's true.
And I have to sit here and try to guess. Well, which one do you mean? And I think you just have to be patient and sit there and listen. And you know, sometimes it makes me laugh, and sometimes it makes me want to cry because I get upset that he's like this. But he can't do anything about it. I mean, there are days when he's real good, and there are some days when he's not. So it's a matter of being patient too, and just go along with it, because this is, you know, for better or worse than sickness and in health. Here we are, till death do us part. Remember that. I wish we could go together. It would be much easier on everybody. But I don't think that's going to be the case. It never usually is.
Roxy would be happy if we did that.
Yeah, that would be.
We were married 70 years, and in June of 23, he got sick and he passed away.
I am trying to move along in my life as it's probably a 9-month widower, and I have my good days and bad.
He unfortunately was starting with a lot of dementia. He passed a couple of years ago.
She brightened up a room whenever she walked in it. She had the most beautiful smile in the world.
And it was the happiest day of my life when he finally got out of pain and got to go to his eternal reward.
I try to be positive. I do have bad days and down days. And when that happens, I just get out of my room and go down to the dining room and sit there, and pretty soon somebody will show up and we start talking about other things.
My children go, we had Dad that long.
That's very hard because when someone has this type of dementia, there's a lot of times where they act like they don't know you. And that was pretty hard to take. After all those years, he'd question who I was. But we got through it, and he did pass away slowly, and I sat by his bedside the whole time, and I'll never know ever whether he knew I was there or not, but I was there.
He was just a lovable, laughable, fun ride. 64 years was like 5 years.
I talk to him every night. I talk to his picture every night and tell him what I did during the day here.
I talk to him every night to his picture and say, I love you, honey. And he knows, he knows I love him.
In 21, Jerry and I happened to be in the dining room, and he was sitting alone, and my friend and I invited him over to the table. And the first time he said no. He said, I'm not ready yet. His wife had just passed away. And then a couple nights later, he was walking past our table, and we said, hey, vieni qua, which means come here in Italian. And he was married to an Italian, so he knew what I meant.
It's funny. After my wife passed away, I said I would not remarry, or I didn't want to get tied down, or it wasn't comfortable. And that's when I met Annie, it all turned around. I kind of fell for her right off the bat. So
we would come down for dinner, and we would meet down here for dinner. And one night he was walking me back to my apartment, and he said, would you be my girlfriend? And I said, sure, I think. My husband died in 2015. I cried a lot. And I just didn't want to be alone. I just wanted to be somewhere where I could keep busy. And then I met Jerry.
I respected my wife very much. I loved her.
He was looked very sad when he was in the dining room, sitting alone, very sad looking.
I got to the point that I really didn't care that much about life. And she kind of brought me back to life,
And then in September 28th, he moved in with me. We said vows to each other, and we have wedding rings. So in our hearts, in our minds, we're married.
It's a very dear old friend. He's 90 years old now, and I am 85. He was my husband's best friend in junior high school.
My first wife was Lucille's cousin.
Time goes by. We both lose our spouses, and we decided we wanted to be close to each other.
I don't think either one of us ever thought of getting married again.
We decided we wanted to spend the last of our late years together because we're good friends.
I know a lot about what they did when they were married, and he knows what we did.
Well, I think my husband is jumping with joy that we got together.
Because of her being my cousin, it kind of bothered me, the whole thing.
And I'm waiting for him to find his spot in the same building so that we can spend the rest of our years together.
Well, I had told my kids that maybe we're thinking about getting married, and they were okay with it. And he said he told 2 of his girls, and they were excited. We were 72 when we got married. Now we're 90, so.
My life with Jerry is very different than my life with my husband. I just never believed at 91, well, I was 90 when I met Jerry. I never believed at 90 that I would meet someone and fall in love. I'm acting like me. I don't know how people act when they're 91. I was never 91 before, so I don't know how to act, but I'm me.
Good job. Good job.
I say that I came out at the age of 47.
Telling me he was a slow learner.
Yeah, that's true, I was.
I was aware, but the expected thing was to get married in your 20s. And anyway, very soon after I was married, I knew then more clearly that my orientation was more for men. But I stayed together with my ex-wife for 21 years, and we had 2 children together. Back in the day, there was a gay newspaper from Cleveland area, Gay People's Chronicle. Richard put an ad in, I saw it, and then through contact, they gave us privately the phone number, and I called and didn't hear from him for 2 weeks, left a message, and then he called me and said he wanted to meet, and we met on April Fool's Day, 1990. He took my hands and he said, before I have any beer or anything, any alcoholic, I want to ask you a question. And he said, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. But he hadn't been out to his sons or his ex-wife yet at that time. We didn't want to do any more playing games around this. I told him I came out of my closet not to go into your closet, so.
But I loved my wife. I'm still have contact with her, my ex-wife. Of course, we have the connection with the children and the grandchildren. I guess I'd say she was shocked. She was surprised.
She said that explains a lot.
Oh, that was the line. That explains a lot, she said.
I came out more totally formally to my ex-wife. We were still married and still living there at the house. I waited there until my children were adolescents. I remember standing up afterward and my son came and gave me a hug and he said, feels good to get that off your chest, doesn't it?
We were eventually married. It just felt like, sigh. This is me. I mean, it's just a matter of us spending time together and getting to know each other and being comfortable, like you said, holding hands and that kind of thing. That took a long time for me.
Arrow has really been welcoming of us.
One of the main things I've enjoyed here is meeting new people. The people have been very supportive of us as a gay couple.
I just think it's so important to honor ourselves, our bodies, our feelings, that part of us that knows what it likes and needs for emotional and sexual intimacy.
When I go to tell her goodnight, I kiss her 5 or 6 times.
He's a kissing fool.
We don't have to tell each other that I love you, I love you. No, it shows in actions. That's what I believe in my everyday actions or everyday behavior, having respect and faith for each other. At first she didn't like rock climbing, but then she came with me and she began to like. So she also sometimes came with me on expeditions.
If you say yes, dear, I would recommend that very highly.
I'm very, very lucky to have you, honey.
Thank you.
If we have a year left, 2 years left, whatever. But we're gonna give it hell, right?
Right. You're so good. I want to cry.
I deeply love him, and no matter whatever happened, I would want to be next to him.
Well, I love the fact that from the very beginning we could talk about anything.
Laugh every day. Never go to bed mad.
And you have to laugh sometimes when it's not very easy.
We love each other very much for so many years.
You accept a person the way he or she is and be flexible and intolerant toward the other person.
We were best friends. That's what you need to be.
I couldn't have asked for anything better.
Oh, sometimes I go walking through fields where we walked long ago in the sweet used to be. And the flowers still grow, but they don't smell as sweet as they did when you picked them for me. And when I think of you and the love we once knew, how I wish we could go back in time. Do you ever think back on old memories like that, or do I ever cross your mind? When old memories appear, my eyes, it won't stay clear when I think of those happier times. Do you ever recall those old memories at all, or do I ever cross your mind?